Welcome to The Explainer. So, today we're unpacking something that's honestly deeply relatable. We're looking at the anti-fragile awakening and escaping the existential vacuum. We're exploring the hidden costs of our hyper-convenient world. It's wild. We literally have robots vacuuming our floors right now, but we've never felt so mentally drained. We're going to map out exactly why that happens, and more importantly, how we can actually break free from it.
I mean, seriously, why does having a perfectly convenient life feel so exhausting? If you've ever felt that heavy wave of digital fatigue wash over you after a day of, doing seemingly nothing, I just want to validate that right here, right now. It's the central paradox of our hyper-optimized civilization. We have perfect, frictionless access to passive pleasure, but man, it's just leaving us feeling completely depleted.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, the frictionless society. We've hit this bizarre civilizational milestone where physical and cognitive friction have just been engineered completely out of our lives. Think about it. Automated algorithms curate our low-effort streaming so we don't even have to suffer the friction of choosing a movie. Digital delivery apps bring whatever we want right to our front door, zero physical movement required. And now, generative systems are literally writing our emails for us. The whole shebang is designed to be utterly, completely frictionless. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. Extreme comfort behaves a lot less like a reward and way more like a slow-release sedative. While we're out here celebrating this hyper-convenience as some kind of cultural utopia, it's actually, quietly, precipitating a widespread crisis of psychological deconditioning. When you strip away all the friction, you lose the resistance that keeps the human mind sharp. So, that unexplainable listlessness you're feeling, it's not laziness. No, it's your mind reacting to a heavily sedated environment.
Which brings us to Section 2, the existential vacuum.
If you've ever felt totally stuck in this state of emptiness, even when all your baseline comforts are totally taken care of, I want to reassure you, this is actually a formally documented clinical condition. It's called the existential vacuum. It's basically this internal sense of total meaninglessness that hits you precisely when all your survival needs are met, but you have absolutely no structural purpose. So cut yourself some slack. It's not a personal failing. It's just the natural psychological consequence of an environment that demands absolutely nothing from you to survive.
Let's move on to Section 3, the stages of change.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how we actually break out of that cycle. This comes from the trans-theoretical model, which is just a fancy way of mapping behavioral change. Step 1 is pre-contemplation. This is when someone has zero intention of changing their habits and puts up massive resistance. But Step 2, this is contemplation, and it's agonizing. It's defined by acute ambivalence. You are painfully aware that your frictionless life is draining you, but you're just frozen. You're completely stuck between the magnetic pull of comfort and this desperate push for change.
All right, Section 4, the Kusadasi paradox.
To understand how to snap a dormant mind awake, imagine stepping into this totally wild environment. Picture a highly volatile, sweltering regional hub. It is just packed wall-to-wall with aggressive commercial hustlers and sudden, loud auditory disruptions. It's literally environmental overstimulation at its absolute peak. When you get dropped into a high-alert landscape like that, your nervous system instantly snaps into hypervigilance. It demands an immediate outlet to process that rushing, overwhelming chemical overload.
And honestly, this perfectly illustrates the contrast of our modern dilemma. In that high-alert landscape, your survival instincts are instantly activated. The environment forces you to take protective action. It demands movement. But compare that to our low-friction setting. When you're completely insulated from external shocks, your survival mechanisms just stay dormant. Since nothing is threatening you, you can't generate the psychological momentum you need to actually do anything. You're just frozen, basically waiting for some unexpected internal awakening to disrupt the quiet. Because let's face it, the outside world isn't going to do it for you.
Let's move to Section 5 and see how this builds. Bridging the gap.
So how do we intervene? The answer lies in targeted altruism. Think of this as carefully aiming our message at a very specific subset of people who actually have the readiness markers needed to act. We're not trying to reach everyone here. We need to focus our energy on the contemplators, the folks who are already starting to question their own comfort. Trying to convince people who are deep in denial about the risks of a frictionless life, it's just a total waste of resources.
And this maps out exactly why matching your message to your audience is absolutely crucial. If you target a pre-contemplator, someone who is just not ready to change, with an aggressive push, you get a massive psychological backfire. You literally drive them deeper into their defensive, comfortable habits. But if you use targeted altruism on a contemplator, giving them the exact right message at the right time, it becomes a catalyst for real action. It's all about calibrating your approach to meet a receptive mind.
But hey, even for the contemplator,
there's still a massive hurdle in the way: the intention-behavior gap. This is that huge psychological chasm between realizing, wow, I desperately need to change my life, and actually taking that first physical step. Because contemplation involves endlessly weighing pros and cons, a person can get trapped in an analytical loop for months or even years. Which brings up a really fierce debate. Can a brief, unexpected media encounter actually shatter this paralysis? Or does a person strictly require a massive, disruptive personal crisis to finally get off the couch?
Finally, Section 6, the future of resilience. So the crucial point is this: historically, human resilience and character have always been forged by unavoidable environmental hardships. But look at the reality we're staring down today. When civilization successfully automates all of our struggles away, what exactly happens to us? In a future of complete engineered convenience, does seeking out voluntary adversity just become some eccentric personal hobby? Or does it become the absolute baseline requirement for remaining human? I'll leave you to ponder that as you navigate your own hyper-convenient world today.